characters, or you're not going to be able to clear content the fastest. Others say you need to pull characters based on their pull value and usage rate, which are wrong again. Today, I'm going to talk about or aren't doing that will make your account 2 times better so you don't ruin your account. Let's get into the video. What is the first thing that comes up to your mind when you think about the meta? It could be Xiangling, or Xiangling, but it's probably the community since Genshin Impact release. You often hear it in different videos, tier lists, and it's just a word that you hear overall in the meta space. However, what does this word actually mean? It essentially means by not pulling a certain character, you'll regret pulling them. And if you don't get that character, it could potentially ruin your account, which is a bunch of bullshit. Why and how? Because nobody needs to get a certain character, even if they're the best of the best characters in Genshin Impact, because we are not getting endgame. So there's no point of pulling a certain character when you can just use other characters in the game. Are there better characters that clear content faster, like the Sprobus? Yes, of course. But do you need to pull them? No. Are they must pulls? No. Am I going to ruin my account by not getting that must pull? Because you don't need to pull any character in Genshin Impact. Moving on with team comp. It's not, but you should. Anyways, let's get back to the video. The most controversial thing I'm going to be covering in this video is Hyper Bloom isn't the most meta-breaking team comp in Genshin Impact. But before you leave hate comments in this video saying this guy's dumb and whatever, let me explain. So the reason why Hyper Bloom is in the meta and overall just a really popular team is because of these 3 factors. Number 1, it's FTP friendly. There's so many characters that can be used 5-star and 4-star options. Sometimes the 4-star options even being better than the 5-star options. And on top of that, why it's popular is it's a versatile team. Basically, you can put any character as your flex slot. For example, if I want to put a cryo character as my flex slot, I can play Hyben, Kirara, I can put them as my flex slot. I can even put a second Hydro in the team to apply more Hydro, or another Dendro character to apply more Dendro. And the last thing I'm going to be talking about Hyper Bloom is the team is very resonant with other artifact sets that the other characters in your team need. So for example, if Xingqiu is in that team, then you can just artifact Strongbox, Emblem of Star Fate. However, it's just not as good as some of the meta teams like Hu Tao Vape and Nash, then Hyper Bloom. However, it still doesn't mean Hyper Bloom is bad, but I just don't like when people say, oh yeah, Hyper Bloom is the best team comp in the world, you must play it. It's not. I still think for the normal player who plays Genshin Impact should use Hyper Bloom because the majority of players are just casual and are looking to 36-star spot. Now, usage rates are the most stupid thing in the Genshin Impact community because the thing is, tons of characters on the usage rate list are insanely meta characters, but they don't even get played. For example, Sucrose. People only use her like 4%, and it's just the most stupid thing ever because usage rate doesn't have anything to determine with the Sucrose, which sometimes he is and sometimes he isn't. For example, Sucrose is better at applying reactions and is better in soup, in national teams, and in any teams that involves applying on-field anime. But Kazuha is better at buffing your DPS characters, and he's an overall better unit for doing that kind of stuff. If you want to determine meta characters, please don't use usage rates. They're not helpful and they don't do anything. The last thing I'm going to be covering in this video is explaining why pull value doesn't matter. So first off, what does it actually mean? What it essentially means is a character that is more versatile, works in many different team comps, is a better pull than a character that only works in maybe 1, 2, or even 3 team comps. But why is that dumb? I'll explain it now. So for example, let's say you pull Yae Miko. Yae Miko works in a ton of team comps. But on the other hand, you have Nilou, who only works in 1 team comp, which is Bloom, but that team comp shreds content. Meanwhile, Yae Miko's teams are kinda okay at clearing content, but some are better than others, but still not good as Nilou team comps. The reason why it's dumb is because I'd personally rather have a character that only works in 1 team that shreds content than rather a character that kinda suffers from clearing content in the game. You may be thinking to yourself right now, why would I pull a single character that only works in 1 team comp that isn't really really res efficient. Meanwhile, I can have a character that is okay, but works in many different team comps, so I'm not using as much resources. Well, it's called max investment. You see, it's more investment, but is a really good TCOM. And then on the second half of the Sprout Boost, play Yoimiya. If you like her and she becomes your main, she's gonna have a higher lane on every character banner, and you haven't gotten a single official, Yae Miko would be a good pull value for you. But let's say, for example, you already have official and preferably many different copies of official, Yae Miko is going to be as much as a pull value on your account. So it's just completely different for everybody.